And we are going now to what they've already touched upon a little bit, NFTs. Are they a hype, or are they here to stay? We have Monty Munford that will moderate this panel with Brian O'Hagan, Head of Growth at Sorare, with Marguerite de Tavernost, a former VC that turned a full-time photographer. And despite her very purist approach, she kept a foot in the tech world and created NFT artwork as part of various other initiatives. And we also have Anna Maria Jipa, co-founder and CEO of Olyn. Please welcome all of them on stage.
Brian, hello. Come, please. Hello, how are you going? How are you going? Oh, sleepy afternoon, right? Well, my panelist has just gone to the restroom, so I have to talk a little bit. Has anyone seen that new movie, Anywhere, Anytime, All at Once yet? No one? With Michelle Yeoh? No, okay, well that's destroyed that one. It's an amazing film. It's about multiverses, and it's probably going to be more influential on us than anything you've ever seen, including The Matrix. So in this panel, I'm going to try and keep away from the M word, no metaverses. My panel, when they're ready, when they've stopped chatting, they're now ready, I believe. Welcome my panel. Please, round of applause. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. That was good timing, wasn't it?
Thank you.
Perfect time.
So we've got 20 minutes to go. We've got 19 minutes and 7 seconds to go through this. What was it? NFTs and beyond the hype. So maybe, Brian, you can talk very quickly about who you are and why you should be here.
Yeah, so hi everybody, I'm Brian Hagen. I work at Sorare. We are a fantasy football NFT game. So basically, we've created trading cards of over 250, of 6,000 players from over 250 clubs. And these trading cards can be used in a game, which is a fantasy football game. And so we're really building a gaming company with NFTs at the center of it.
Thank you very much. Anna?
Yeah, hi, everyone. So, yeah, I'm co-founder, CEO at Olyn, and basically what we do is tokenize physical assets and also digital assets, enabling people to have an inventory of things and being aware about the things they own. So, yeah, we're transforming receipts into assets at the time of purchase, so we're more...
Just to put it in context, these two companies have raised nearly $1.5 billion in funding, right? Just to give it some gravitas. 600, 800, is that right?
Yeah.
And then we go to a VC who's now an artist.
Yeah.
So you haven't raised that much money, right?
Not a penny.
Not yet. Your photographs are amazing on exhibition in Paris at the moment.
Exactly.
Absolutely amazing from Namibia. You should check it out, honestly. Really, I'm going to so try and buy one off you later.
Very
Marguerite,
good investment.
Tell us about you. You have an interesting journey.
Yeah. So I did a bit of an unusual reconversion. So I used to evolve in the tech industry for the past 7 years, basically hovering between the Berlin, Paris, and London hub. And 4 months ago, I decided to change my side project to a full-time job. And so I'm basically a full-time photographer. I have a very purist approach of shooting only on analog photography and on films. But on the side, I kind of kept a foot in the tech world, and I'm creating NFTs.
A VC that became an artist.
Yeah.
May it be the beginning of the whole world, you know what I mean? Anna, we were talking earlier about NFTs. I don't know, hands up who really digs NFTs? And hands up who thinks they're a pile of shit. So I'm kind of the pile of shit guy as well. So it's up to you to, well, you basically got a whole audience against you and me. So Anna, tell us why you think NFTs are an awesome way to store value.
Yeah, I believe that right now, since we're at this intersection of a lot of innovation happening, I'm looking at it from an angle of a tool that could be interpreted as potential to open new markets. Like in this case, like NFT itself is just like an approach of representing something unique digitally, right? So in our case, like when we kind of started with Olyn, like we realized that this is an opportunity. Like if we would have come up with Olyn like 4 years ago, it wouldn't have been like much of a thing. Like it's now that like there's these tools out there like going mainstream. So my understanding is like we own a lot of things that we don't know about them. So we have not had tools to actually identify those things and have knowledge. So like that saying of you cannot know if you don't measure it. So it's sort of a way of identifying something unique, but the form of store of value, it's as a huge tool that could extremely bring up use cases that we haven't even envisioned yet.
So when you say tools, right, I keep thinking of IT tools, or, I mean, I don't know, could you just explain to me and maybe the audience what you mean by tools? I mean, my first thought is how to get an NFT, be an NFT. It's quite easy, I would have thought. But what do you mean by the kind of deeper infrastructure? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I believe like the internet is like on a constant evolution, right? So we're still part of like I don't think like the internet has yet been built completely to its full potential. So as there is more tools in it, like there's more availability for others to start having the opportunity to build more and more. Like in our case, like we're able to come across with something like it's really unique for humanity. But in this sense, like when they say like there's like this evolution from Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, it's nothing but like an incremental accessibility to all sorts of technical tools that people could use it and like come up with new ideas. One of the tools were like literally issuing payments on the internet, right? So this is no different, but could like create new use cases that potentially like might change the way we think of the world and even digitally.
So the tools that will power the NFT revolution are probably going to create rebellions, maybe this audience, maybe me. So I'm still trying to work out, if I think of NFTs, I think of $69 million Beeple, or whatever his name was. You know what I mean? I think, Brian, you can talk to me about case studies earlier. But when you say the tools of Web3 are going to be helpful to all of us here on the planet, is there an opportunity here that the NFT revolution is going to help us?
I think that one of the things like we're challenged is like thinking out of the box in many different ways. And one of those things are how do we interpret value and what does actually determine value? Is it a price? Is it a community? So is value something it's stuck in time? It's like now. So I guess like the fact like you can identify something uniquely, like if in time like that unique thing is identified, like and there are certain events that happen to it to time, like value could like behave differently. So you need to have a start somewhere, and that's why I think like we're really at the beginning. But we'll be much more in the community's hands and people's hands to validate that rather than companies coming in building.
Okay. Brian, what do you think of what your colleague has just said, your fellow panelist? Do you think we've got good tools?
You know, I think, you know, we talk about Web3 because it's the first time on the internet that we can read, write, and actually own what we write. And for me, in the context of gaming, what that means is that right now when you play with EA Sports or on Fortnite or anything, when you buy an item in that game, you actually buy a copy of a digital license. And that item, you cannot move it wherever you want. You cannot trade it wherever you want. You are actually within...
Your main business is NFT games.
Well, I think, you know, where I come from is I think NFTs are very interesting in the context of gaming. I'm not going to go and expand into all the industries. I think an NFT is a technology just like the internet. And so then you have to look at application by application. And for me, the industry I work in is gaming. And what it means is that an NFT, a gaming item as an NFT is an item that you can actually use in multiple different games, trade in multiple different platforms, and this actually gives ownership back to the gamer much more than traditional gaming that we have today. So what it means, if I actually compare between Sorare, for instance, and EA Sports card trading game, well, with EA Sports card trading game, you cannot sell your item outside of EA Sports gated type of experience. With Sorare, you can actually sell your card on Sorare, sell your card on OpenSea, sell your card on Coinbase, NFT, etc. Any sort of platform that supports that URC 721, but also you can play that card in other games, that are built on top of Sorare cards. For instance, Ubisoft built a game on top of Sorare cards. We have gaming studios that are building games on top of Sorare cards, and the notion of IP that can be used in other games is quite interesting. If I bought a sword in a metaverse and I can use it in another metaverse, like that's actually super interesting and benefits the end user.
What do you think of the word collectible? Because when I think of collectibles, especially when it comes to sports, it's like an England player that's got 100 caps and he leaves his caps in his trophy room, or someone that buys some, I don't know if the word's right, memorabilia or collectibles, in sports. People don't really touch them or use them. I mean, I collect art, and when I get up in the morning, I walk past one of my paintings, cost a couple of grand. It was like a graffiti artist in Brighton called The Postman, who's also amazing. And I go past and I touch the frame, and there's a little bit of dust, and I kind of, sorry, sometimes, not always, but I just feel really nice when I do it. But collectibles in your world, they're kind of locked away, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, even art, we collect art because, it shows our identity. If I have a Picasso at home versus a Cézanne, it's because I want to show that I'm a fan of Picasso, right? Collectibles, it's similar. The only thing is that I'd say the act of collecting is a bit broken. If I collect Cristiano Ronaldo Panini card, I probably have it in my attic. I'm not really using it. And I would say, to some extent, online, it's similar. If you are collecting more than 100 items, you can't really show them.
It's about utility then. You're using.
So for me, yeah, I mean, for us, it's all about, collecting is great, but what can you do with it? And what you can do with it is adding these layers of utility, playing it in Sorare's game, but playing them also in other games, unlocking, experiencing with these NFTs. Let's say you are in a stadium in Real Madrid watching Benzema, and you own a Benzema card, and he scores. Well, maybe that means that because he scored and you had a Sorare card, suddenly you have minus 20% in the Real Madrid, shop. These are all forms of utility that you can actually attach to an NFT through geolocation and more things that I find quite exciting. And so I think we're only scratching the surface in terms of NFTs as tickets, NFTs as discount codes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no, I'm interested in NFT games. I think it's going to be huge. I mean, I did some, I'm not going to say I work for, because that would just be talking. I shouldn't do that. I told you not to do that, and now I'm almost doing it. Now we have a VC that's turned into an artist. This must be fucking brilliant for you. A chance to finally make some money, leaving the VC world,
money,
travel for a bit, go to Namibia, take some pictures, going to be skint for the rest of your life, no money. Boom, shanker, motherfucker, you've got NFTs. This must be great for you.
That's the only reason why I'm in this business.
Is that the only reason? Yeah. No, but I mean, things like gallery fees, I think we spoke about before.
For an artist, NFT is a huge opportunity because you have, firstly, but it's the same as what you were saying with the gamers. It gives back the ownership to the artists, and it gives you financial independence. So currently I'm doing a show, Place des Vosges in Paris, and the gallery, very nice. But still, they take 50% of the revenue that I generate.
That's mad.
Which is a bit mad.
Decentralized, baby. You know what I mean?
And exactly, now I can decentralize my activity.
But they obviously take the 50% fee for distribution and exhibition and showing. How does that change with NFTs? I mean, you just put your stuff online, or how do you do it?
Yeah, so you mint your stuff online, you have different platforms available. So for me, when I started, I tried a couple of different ones, Foundations, Loica, Objects. Most of them are based on the Ethereum blockchain. You have some that are a bit more innovative as well, testing the Tezos blockchain, but it's a bit of a different audience. And then once it's out there, you have a cut, the platform take a cut between 2.5%, 5%, and maximum 15%.
Right.
So it's still very reasonable, but also you keep getting the revenues from the secondary sales. So you really, because your piece of art is coded on the blockchain, you can always follow how it's being traded, and you can always make sure that you get revenue from it. You also have a very, very close tie with your community, and it's something that you really don't get when you exhibit in a gallery, where the gallery manages the distribution and the relationship with your community, whereas when you do that online, it's basically a self-reinforcing process, so the way NFT is being developed at the moment, we're still in the early days, but it's basically a ladder with one person pulling up the other person, and everyone kind of like cheering for each other. So actually, in the art market right now, the collectors are very often the artists. So they are basically the early adopters, and with the sales, the money that they generate with the sales, they collect other pieces of art, and it's a self-reinforcing cycle.
Yeah,
So
okay.
the network effects are pretty huge.
You're nodding your head, Anna. You agree with that, presumably? You're nodding your head, going, yeah.
Actually, no, it's really admirable because like that's sort of like what we expect, like people really kind of understanding quickly like the potential of it, right? So as he said before, like basically like the interpretation of it like can go beyond like what we imagine, like just like the representation of it. Like communities can actually increase its value. Like value, it's not something it's stuck in time. So if all of a sudden like someone like there's an historical factor around like one of your piece of art, right? That might increase its value or not. Like Izzy said, like linking data to the thing about its events. I think like once something is identified, it lives in a context. So depends how that context behaves can change the value of something that's fascinating.
No, I agree it's fascinating, but the one question I think that we probably need to address is why do you think, bearing in mind the audience and me, maybe I'm playing a game. I think NFTs are interesting in many ways, right? But the perception of NFTs is really poor. Everyone thinks it's a scam or a bit stupid. Are we at the beginning of it? Are we at the end of it? What can you three do to persuade this audience and the people watching online that NFTs have a better reputation than they have at the moment? What do we need to do? Brian, Anna, anyone? Brian, you look like you're quizzically thinking.
I don't think there's a right answer to that, but I think first of all, the fact that we might be entering a market that becomes a bit more rational in the crypto industry and in the stock market is good news because there'll probably be less opportunistic people just trying to sell and rug people with NFTs. So that's the first thing. I think at the end for me, it's what can you do with it? How can you use it in your everyday life? And it starts with products that will reach millions of users and products that will actually use NFTs without you noticing it. And similarly, when you use the internet, you don't need to understand everything about the internet. When you use NFTs in the future, you don't need to understand what a wallet is, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then finally, I think, what kind of use cases can we build with NFTs that are for the greater good, So a quick example, and tons of people have done that, but, we sold cards of Shakhtar Donetsk, one of our partnering clubs in Ukraine. All the proceeds of these cards went to the Club for Refugee Center in the region of eastern Ukraine, or west Ukraine. And that was quite interesting because actually the fundraising mechanism through blockchain, through NFTs, through Ethereum, is fully transparent. You can see how much was raised, all that is auditable, and I think that's a great feature just for fundraising in general.
Yeah, blockchain, hurrah, absolutely. Yeah. Anna, anything to add to that? Have you given any money to Ukraine? Come on, you must have done something amazing.
So basically, I'm just going to compliment what he said. My belief is like if something like this tool, if enables you to kind of realize that you're richer than you actually are kind of aware that you are, like we're looking at it from like right now, like wealth comes from having financial assets, digital assets, and physical assets. And digital, like right now, they're starting to being more identified, and physical, not at all. And kind of giving that like as a tool where people can hold into it, trade better, like for us, we're using it as a tool that can even change like how we think of circular economy and sustainability and all this part of the tech side that is more concerned of it. But like my understanding is that the challenge right now is because it's more of a back-end solution and really used as a very it's any tool at the beginning, like it has its bad actors and good actors in it, but it will not be something like people should neglect as a huge opportunity for how tech could look like in the future.
Well, 1.4 billion of funding between the two of you. You'd think the investors certainly think they're good apples, right? You know what I mean? We've got like a minute and a half left, which is crazy because we haven't even started. I suppose we might have to Well, should we just run over and fuck them and carry on talking? Shall we do that? Yes? Would you like us to overrun, yes or no? Well, that's kind of... Okay, maybe a minute then. NFTs for you have been awesome, right?
Yep.
And probably will mutate and be even more awesome. I think what I like about NFTs, I like music, I like bands, I like backstage access, I like going to gigs, access all areas, and I've been to loads, believe me. I've done loads of drugs as well, and it's been brilliant fun. I'm not saying that NFTs are for drug takers, or it was a long time ago. But how do you think that, you say that you can go to the secondary market and you can do stuff. What do the gallery owners think? I mean, would it be that you'll be in the Parisian art gallery selling physical versions of your stuff and then selling NFTs? They wouldn't be very happy about that. What's the state of play at the moment?
I think for the galleries, they are in a bit of a tricky position because the minute they are trying to get into the NFT, then they're stealing away the audience of the artist from the artist, and so obviously they are not meant to have a seat at the table while they're still trying to do it, but I think it's probably not going to work out. But for the artist, we're really moving away from a collaboration
But will
with the
you still
galleries.
need a dealer, so to speak?
My opinion after having tried it out is no, definitely not.
You don't need that middle person.
Definitely not. But then you can still recreate a link between the real world and the NFT world. So basically, there's been very interesting trends. For instance, if you look at the Bored Apes, which were kind of like the pioneers in the space, each time you would own a Bored Ape, this would give you backstage access to very exclusive events that you wouldn't.
Fantastic.
God, I hope not.
Great. I actually have a friend of mine, when the pandemic started, his wife works at London Zoo, and we had lunch just before lockdown, and he said that the government is saying that everybody, has to bring their work home with them. And he said, my missus works at London Zoo. What's she going to fucking do? Bring a tiger home with her? Which I thought was quite funny, and you obviously didn't. Any questions, I think? Please. Are we doing Q&As? Has anyone got any questions with a very big voice? Has this panel made you feel more confident about NFTs? Yes or no? Okay, the person who's waving, tell us why. That's you, brother, yeah. Speak up, man, please. You think it's speculation? Oh, you've got me now, haven't you? Okay. Just answer that, gentleman there. NFTs are not just speculation, are they? 1, 2, 3. Brian.
There is speculation, but there's a real utility in different industries, gaming, ticketing, etc. And I think you need to use it to understand it. So that's my only recommendation at this stage.
Thank you, Brian. Anna?
Yeah, I think that's maybe like the use cases that kind of came across at the beginning of the NFT usage of it as a concept, but the technology itself allows much more. In our case, we just use it for identifying physical things at the time of purchase and then enabling people build an inventory and kind of make those assets circulate. So I'm just approaching it from a perspective of it's a tool that could be used for many other use cases, one of which could be also have a speculative approach towards the value of the thing that it represents, but it's just something that could be beyond it. It's just a matter of time to see how many good actors and solutions are going to come along.
Marguerite, last word.
Well, looking at my wallet, if it were speculation, I clearly missed it. So.
Yeah, well, don't look at it at the moment. And before the MC boots us off stage and hates me right now, can we have a round of applause for the MC, because they never get enough credit.
Thank you. You probably thought it was a speculation that when I told you that I will come on the stage when your time was finished, but it was not speculation. I'm there, really.
I've got to go.
So thank you so much. Give them a great round of applause.
Thank you.
And let's hope Monty is collecting NFTs now and no more caps.
No more caps.